Hello again, guys, and welcome back to the House of Devlin. I'm Big Al Devlin, and this is a continuation of our Nordic paganism series here on the House of Devlin. Last night I was talking to you all about walking death, how it's impacted upon me, and the afterlife, what I saw, my personal experiences of what I saw and felt. Obviously, these are unique experiences because they're going to be probably just for me and me alone. People who have undergone similar circumstances, who have died themselves and come back to life, probably will have seen different things, or even heard voices talking to them to achieve a certain goal or whatever. Especially if they're of the Celtic or Nordic paganistic belief systems. Sometimes there are communications. But today, really, what I want to do is I just want to tell you quickly why or how I started to feel the symptoms of the waking dream. The waking dream, for those who haven't seen any videos before, is a state where you feel like you're dead. You undergo what's called not a life or death situation, but a death situation. You die and you come back, and you die, you come back, and you do it all by yourself, kind of thing. You don't tend to have medical intervention. It's through either sheer willpower or divine intervention that you find yourself back in your body again from the afterlife. And I've done a video again on my experience of that, so please check it out. But experiencing the waking dream was not something that I think I experienced it straight away, but it's not something I became aware of my experiences until 3 days after the accident that hurt me or killed me, whatever. I think partly most of this is because the injuries that I took were to the head. Most of my injuries were to the head, and to the chest, and and everywhere else. But a lot of my injuries were to the head, and I was very heavily concussed, from the accident. And I was on pills first couple of days, for the first week really, but especially for the first couple of days, and it shuts you down, stops you feeling the pain, the physical pain that you're in, but I think it also stops you feeling you as well. What is you, and then on the third day, my mother was very good. She doesn't watch YouTube, but I want to thank her now. Without her, I wouldn't have got it through all this. She supported me and helped me as a mother should. She's a good mom, and so is the mother of Lauren, my girlfriend, who's hurt in the crash as well. She supported Lauren and myself, and I think she's had many a tired night. Worrying about the both of us, and she put a lot of effort into helping the both of us recover from her injuries. But so real thank you to both of them. But the waking dream is something that I started to experience 3 days after the crash. 3 days after the crash, we had gone out just to get away from the house that I was staying at that moment. I had to go back to my parents for care. I lived back at my parents for about a week before returning to my own home, because obviously all the blows that I took to my head meant that there was a risk that I wouldn't wake up when I went to sleep, that there would be some bleeding on the brain, or I just simply wouldn't wake up. So my mom, she slept in the room next to me, which wasn't a bedroom, it was the living room, on the sofa, and she would come in intermittently over the night and just check on me, make sure I was still breathing, things like that. as I say, we went away. We went out. Apologise for the dogs barking downstairs. I hope you can hear me. I was getting a little closer. Oh God, now you got to see my ugly mug. But I went down. We went out together, me and my mum, to the local supermarket. Ultimately, there's a garden centre and everything like that. And as we were leaving the supermarket, it was partly just to get me some new clothes because I'd lost a lot of my clothes during the crash. Um, I just decided enough was enough. It's as if I had woken up, even though they call it the waking dream. It's as if I had woken up, as if the drugs suppressing it, all the painkillers and stuff that I was having, and the concussion had sort of worn off, and I went from feeling like an imbecile or some kind of, much simpler than I normally would feel, to suddenly seeing the world in the same eyes that I used to see the world, to a point at least anyway, but seeing the world for what it was. And to me, at that point in time, the world was not the world. It was not the world of living. I was in an afterlife. 100% became convinced. I realised that everything around me, and the reason I've been feeling weird over the last few days and everything, I was starting to think about how the hell, because you do question things, when you're involved in an accident, a car crash like I was, that it's so severe. When you see photos, it's one of those photos that you sometimes see in the newspapers or you see on television, and you think, how the hell did anyone survive that car crash? And most of the time, no one has, but occasionally, sometimes they do. And you think, how the hell did anyone get out of that alive? Not alone walk out of the car with the help of a civilian like I did. I just walked out of the car, at the time. And one of the reasons for this, or as I say, going mulling my mind over why am I here? Why am I alive? Why am I like I am? And that's when it came. I must be dead. I must have died. I didn't survive the car crash after all, and I'm dead. And this is the afterworld, or sort of limbo, so to speak, the sort of the afterworld before the afterworld, if that's what it is. Because before the car crash, I wasn't religious or faithful in any way whatsoever regards religion. I had no faith. The only thing I believed in was fate. I understood what fate was, and I had a very strong belief in fate. But religion itself, this is something I had no belief system. I wanted one, perhaps. Looking back at it, I was looking for one. I was looking for one where my super strong belief in fate fitted in. But I wasn't exactly spending any time in my life looking for it. I was sort of living life, having life experiences, and using that to perhaps answer some questions that I may have had. But as I say, at that point, I suddenly saw the world for what it was to me at the time. Now, I just want to let you know, guys, with 100% certainty, that the waking dream is a word given to this experience by a Celtic clan of a friend of mine. So it does come under other terms as well. And if you have a different name for it, please put it in the comments. I would love that. I would love to hear it under different names also, because every clan would have their own name for it. And the more names you have, the more likely you are to be able to find further information on it. I'm being Nordic paganism. I'm trying to find out what the Nords saw it as, and I know it's related to Inengard and Usengard, their belief in the Inengard and Usengard, which I won't get into. But ultimately, their waking dream, they recognised it, and they dealt with it in exactly the same way that other Celts other pagans dealt with it. They sent those that suffered from the waking dream to war bands, essentially, that they themselves were composed of completely of members, all their members were like them. They'd suffered from the waking dream, but they'd learnt to control it, because ultimately what happens is the waking dream worsens and worsens and worsens without guidance and teaching, without knowledge of what's going on, because what happens is you start questioning reality more and more and more and more, and you don't stop questioning it. You start to have greater doubts that the world is real, because part of you at the beginning is like, now come on, you sound insane thinking what you're thinking, or doing what you're doing, and eventually what happens is you either completely lose your mind, go mad, or you commit suicide because you have enough. So it is recorded in the ancient texts and stuff like that, that are linked to the ancient Celts, and the ancient pre-Christian Germanic tribes, that they did recognise this experience. And when you went through such an experience, you essentially became a holy man if you survived it, if you didn't lose your mind, if you didn't commit suicide, if you learnt to control it, and then went to one of the war bands, like the Berserkers, which were one such war band, you would become a holy man in your society. You'd become highly respected individual. Very few people would question your word, because people who are in the state that I am are beyond truthful, blunt. We don't lie, and react as well. If we see something wrong, we correct it, and I can attest to that. But one thing I will say is because this is talking about waking death in general, but my personal experience began, as I say, 3 days after the crash, and I just turned to my mother, for God's sake, my own flesh and blood, the woman who bore me into this world, the woman who I love, with all my heart and always will. I turned to her. I remember I grabbed her by the shoulders, not aggressively, but like you do when you hold someone, to gain their attention. And I said to her, or it, as I saw it at that point, I said, "Listen, I'm talking to you straight now, and I mean it. Every word I say, I mean. I know the truth. I know why you're here, and I know what this is. This is all an illusion. This is not the real world. This is just some kind of fake imitation of the real world. Well done, you've done well. It looks real, but it doesn't feel real. And I know, I can see now. I can see through it. I don't want to be here. I want to either, and I know the two choices. Or I know there's no choice. I know that I must pass on, but I beg you." And I got onto my knees with her. I got onto my knees because I thought I was talking to some divine being, a Disha, a D-I-S-I-R, a Disa, which is a sort of female goddess, lesser known goddess, a named goddess. And I got onto my knees and I said, "Listen, just please send me back to the real world. Please send me back to the material realm. I don't care if this is heaven. I don't care if this is paradise and you're going to give me it all. I know I'm surrounded by my family. I know I'm surrounded by love. I know that so far things are getting better, but I do not want fake in my life. I don't want an imitation in my life. I want reality." And the reality is, I know, is that I died that day. The reality is I died. So send me back. Send me back to the material realms. Send me back to the world of the living. as a ghost or whatever you can send me back as. I don't give a shit whether I can't even interact with the world. I can just go down and watch over people, because all I want to do is go to my family and I want to watch over them. I want to protect them as best I can. I want to look after them. I want to make sure, even if they can't have a life with me, that at least they have some kind of happiness, that my girlfriend finds a way of moving on and has a family and things like this. I want to be there just to watch them, and if possible, if I can interact at times, just little bits of hit points here and there, protect them or guide them or whatever, a bit like a guardian angel, then fantastic. That's all I want. I just want to protect and watch over those I love. Just let me do it. I don't care if it means that when they're gone, when they leave the world, I'm there left alone for all eternity. I don't care if that becomes a living hell. I don't care. It's worth it for the next 30, 40, 50 years, whatever, of just seeing them live. I just want to see my family live. I want to see them grow and develop, and I want to protect them if possible. So please, please, please send me back. Of course, my mum was taken aback by this, and she assured me that I was still alive and this is the world of living. And I just thought, I'm not going to argue with a goddess. I know she's lying to me. I know that this is the world of the dead. And she's just saying this to soothe my soul. She can see the pain I'm in. And maybe her job, this is when I came to the conclusion that maybe the job of her and all the other things around me, all the other spirits around me, this imitation of the world that I once knew, the reality, this imitation of reality, was just here to prepare my spirit or soul to move on to the afterlife, to let go of the material realm, to get to the point where I could accept death. Because at this point I couldn't accept death. I got onto my knees and I begged to go back, not as a living person, but as a ghost, as a shade, as a spirit. I didn't care how I went back. I just wanted to go back to watch over my family and protect them and love them. That's all I wanted to do. All I could feel at that point in time. I was so numbed up. I was so numbed up with the pain and everything. All I could feel was love at that point. And I needed to give that love to my family. And the unfortunate thing is, of course, I've come to realise now that, of course, that I was alive through studying, religious and religious texts and discussing the topic with other people within the religious community that I'm now part of. I've discovered that I am in the world of living. I'm just mostly alive but partly dead, and it's that partly dead part of me that makes me feel sometimes that I am in the world of the dead, but now I know, I'm armed with knowledge, I'm not dead. I sometimes feel dead. In fact, I always feel dead. It's never gone. Every second of every day I feel dead. But I after having spoken to people who've gone through, as I say, similar experiences, some people who are in that's now the same belief system, who accept not only what I've gone through, but understand it and actually say, this, to go through this is unusual. To go through the waking death, most people, when they die, they stay dead. When you go through the waking death, when you come back and you come back alive, zombie. I'm not a zombie. I'm alive. Don't worry, guys. I'm not going to be eating your brains or anything, for breakfast. But to come back from the world of the dead, back to the world of the living, takes one of two things: sheer willpower, which is what I think it was a combination of things, but sheer willpower or divine intervention. And I think it was my sheer willpower when I was in the afterlife, when I was in the next world. I could hear my girlfriend screaming next to my body, because when she woke up she could see me and she was convinced 100% I was dead. probably was at that point. My heart had stopped. I had no pulse. There's blood everywhere. I was bleeding everywhere. It's she thought I was dead, and then she discovered her own injuries, her leg, her arm, her head as well. And I remember her just screaming. I could hear the words again and again. I don't want to die. Oh my God, no, I don't want to die. I'm too young. I don't want to die. My leg, look at my leg. Oh my God. And you could hear the panic in her voice. And I just thought, at that point, I was in a paradise. I was in my heaven. I was in an afterworld at that point, a good one. And I just thought, I can't stay here. It's selfish for me to do so. I need to get back to the woman that I love. I need to go back to the chaos, to the pain. I need to go back to the suffering, because at that point I understood what had happened. And I need to go back and I need to comfort her. I need to protect her. I need to guide her. I need to make sure that people look after her. And so, through sheer willpower, I seemed to force myself off where I was through darkness, through a lot of darkness. I swam through the darkness. It's weird. It's like it wasn't water. It was pure darkness. I swam through it, and then I became into my body. And when I was in my body, it was amazing. Dealing with the aftermath. At that moment, I had no recollection of what I'd just gone through. It's only 3 days later, when the waking dream became apparent, that I started to regain my memory of everything. At that point, I didn't even know I'd been in a car accident. I didn't know what was going on. I literally had no idea. The only thing I knew was my name, the name of my girlfriend, and our home, that we lived in Birmingham somewhere. That's a big city, by the way, Birmingham. It's the second largest city in England. It's just the only other city bigger than it in England is London. And so, I didn't know anything. I couldn't remember anything from the previous weekend, or because it was on a Sunday when we got hit. I couldn't remember anything from the weekend. I couldn't remember anything. But then, as I say, 3 days later, it all started coming back to me. That's when my memory started to reactivate slowly but surely. But with it came the curse. At this point, it's a blessing now. I've got it under control. I've learned to control it. I've learned to work with it. But at that point, it was a curse. I had the curse of the waking dream. It made everything seem futile. It gives you a nihilism to an extent. Or what's the point in doing stuff like eat things as serious as that? Why do all this if you're dead? Dead people don't need to eat. Yeah, you start challenging life to a point to kill you again. To put you feel like, well, if I'm dead, it doesn't matter anyway, does it? Luckily I didn't go too far with anything along those lines, because the way I coped with the walking death, the walking dream, was it's just that I just accepted it. If I'm dead, and this is a limitation of my previous life, so be it, because it's a pretty good one. It's pretty believable. Yes, I know the truth, but it's a believable one. And you know what? It's good. I'm surrounded by my family. I'm surrounded by those I love. This is what I'm trying to get back to. But if I'm dead, I'm not going to have this. I'm only going to be able to watch them. I'm not going to be able to interact with them. And so I thought, in many ways, I should just simply accept the falseness, the falsehood of all that's around me. Try and see it as a truth, and enjoy it as much as possible. Enjoy the life that I obviously was not fated to have. I was fated to die at the age of 29. And I thought, well, I might as well enjoy the life that I was supposed to have. Maybe that's my heaven, to continue my life in the direction of my life in the direction it was supposed to go in. But then, of course, as I say, later on, I met people, Celtic God here on YouTube, for example, who's a featured member on my channel, and he guided me. He showed me that what I am is a rarity. It's even considered a holy man status in paganism. You know, I would be considered a holy man. I don't care about that. You know, although I care about the responsibilities. If coming back was not only just through sheer willpower, me fighting to come back to this world, but also because Freya allowed me to return. Freya is a goddess, and I was at her realm. I was in her afterlife, the Meadow of the Dead, Folkvangr. If she did not want me to leave that realm, I could not have done it. She wouldn't have allowed it. She's the goddess of love and war, and of course my motivation to return into this world, to the material realm, was pure love for the woman in my life, and ultimately, obviously not that immediate point, but ultimately also my parents as well, and the rest of my family. I wanted to be with them, but at that moment in time, I wanted to be there with the woman I loved. I wanted to be there to comfort her, to support her, to help her through her hardships, her pain. I did not want to leave her alone, and I think Freya could probably feel that love inside of me. Could see how motivated I was I was fighting my way out. So as far as I was concerned, I would fight my way out of heaven. Fighting your way out of heaven to come back to the material realms, which at that point was pretty fucking shitty place to be. And, you know, it was chaos, it was pain, it was suffering. You know, and I was willing to do it. And I think Freya had her own involvement, her divine intervention, if you wish, in allowing me to come back. Maybe it was her who sent me back, maybe, but it was my motivation, my determination to get back. I think that if it was divine intervention that allowed that caught her attention and said, okay, we'll send you back. It's gonna hurt. And it did. When I woke up, I've never felt pain like it. I was in so much pain, literally from toe to the top of my head. Literally every square inch of my body was in so much agony you can't imagine it. It felt like every single cell, every single part of my body wanted to throw up. The only part of your body that can throw up is your mouth, right? But it felt like every part of my body wanted to throw up because it was in just so much pain. You know, when you're in that much pain, you just want to throw up. It was like that, but everywhere. I just wanted to. Every part of my body just wanted to sort of recoil from this world that I'd obviously just re-entered. It was horrendous pain, horrendous. How I survived it, I don't know. Well, I didn't, I suppose. I did die, but how I survived the after effects of coming back again, I don't know. It was determination, willpower to continue to fight through it all. Because my focus, what made me survive, I do know what got me through it was my girlfriend Lauren. I was there for her, and that's what I considered. I was there for her. I spent my entire time trying to protect her, and I couldn't do much. My mind had gone at that point. It was down to the firemen and the police services to cut her out the car, and the paramedics to get to hospital, and the police to keep, you know, everyone ordered and that. But at least I was there for when I recovered and when she recovered, to support her in the rest of her life, which is what I'm doing now. She struggles still to this day. 2 years later, a week ago, she had her 13th operation. It's hard, but I'm here through choice. I fought to be here, and that the waking dream, or the waking dream is not a curse anymore. It's a blessing. It's just part of what I have to go through It's part of what I have to experience in this world, in this life, because there's always going to be consequences. There's always going to be side effects to significant events, such as going back into your body after you died. And it's something that it's an unpleasant experience, but from it can come goodness. If you can learn to control it, you can achieve greatness. And that's why, as I said, I would be seen as a holy man amongst pagans, because I can now achieve greatness. I can, not just for myself, I don't care about myself as such, but for my people and for humanity as a whole. I want to protect them. So I want to protect those I love, but I also want to protect my brothers and sisters, my fellow pagans. I want to protect the innocent. I have this overwhelming urge for protection, which is a common known side effect of the waking dream. You come back with just this urge to protect those who need protecting. It's a strange one. I've spoken enough on the subject. Gives you a little bit more insight, the reality behind it all. I would don't wish it upon any man, woman, or child. It happen to anyone at any age, because it's painful. The process to get there is painful. Dying is not a pleasant experience. And the willpower to come back, it takes tremendous amount of willpower. You can't just do it and come back. You have to have a reason to come back, and that reason has to be so strong. And I assume the gods have to agree, they have to see that your reasons are genuine. You're not just doing it to empower yourself. You're not putting yourself through the ordeal of death and all the rest of it just to make yourself stronger or make yourself immune to pain, like I seem to be now. I don't feel pain to the same degree that I used to. I'm going through the walking dream because I was forced to go through it, and I was unable, or no, I wasn't unable. I was stubborn enough to refuse heaven, and it was on my. I was in heaven, and I was stubborn enough to refuse it because I wanted my reality. I wanted my life back, so that I could use it to protect and honor those I love. Thank you.